Okay, so the recorder has started again. Hello and welcome. My name is Rick Baxter. I'm with Cost Control Software coming to you live today, or if you're watching the replay, not live anymore, but today is Wednesday, June the 20th, and today's topic, be sure that you're in the right room, is how to add quality control to your Microsoft Dynamics NAV without writing a single line of code. We do not promote custom coding. We do promote strongly adding add-ons, okay, additional features, already written features to your NAV software, and quality control is one such feature, and you'll see how easy, I'm hoping how easy it is to use this product. Just so you know a little bit about me, that is my picture up there at the top. I help NAV users and resellers and consultants, hopefully like yourself, get the most from your software investment. I mean, that's what I'm here to do. I really want to help you utilize your NAV software. Today we're going to take a look at quality control and make sure you understand how to use it and how easy it is to use as we go through it. One thing about quality control as we go along, and I want to mention this at the beginning, don't forget about the purpose of a quality system. The purpose is very simply doing testing. You're testing your products, right? You're testing a finished good, you're testing a raw material, and you want to make sure that it's acceptable to ship that product off to your customer or to use an incoming raw material in your production process rather than using some defective item in your manufacturing process. So this is all about testing. And as you probably have seen out of the box, NAV does not have any kind of way to record test results of raw material or finished good items. So that just doesn't exist in the base product. So one of the things we're going to do today is kind of give you a little review of how this works. I'm going to demonstrate the products and show you how to fill that, what I would call a gap in NAV manufacturing and NAV in general, is quality control. And this is one of many, many, many add-on products that are available for purchase out on the marketplace. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to move this down. You should have a copy of this. I think Ben sent this to you earlier today or maybe yesterday. This is the study guide. It is available, I think, as well in the handout section, although I find that that doesn't always work real well. So I would just kind of follow along on screen. The session, I will let you know, the session is going to be recorded, and the replay will be sent out probably within 24 hours after we complete the webinar. Okay, so let's get going. 7 key attributes. So I'm going to go through this and I'm going to talk about 7 key things that I think a quality control system has to provide. If it doesn't have these attributes, then it should not be considered in your business. So I'm going to take these one by one and I'm going to show you some demonstrations of each of these as we go. And so the first one is real time. For the data to be useful, it must show in real time. So you want to be sure that as you record your data into the software, it's showing up in real time in a real-time test. Okay, we're going to go do a test and we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And this is my role center for quality control. So you can see this is designed for the quality control manager to kind of run their department, let's say. I'm thinking it might be one person, it might be multiple people that are running and doing the testing. So if it's a one-person shop, then you're not really delegating the work to anybody, you're doing it yourself. If it's a multi-purpose shop, then the manager might set up tests and say, I have X number of tests ready to be tested, how many tests are in progress, or how many tests have been finished by the tester and need to be reviewed by the quality control manager. So it just depends on the nature of your environment, how you would utilize the software. But I'm going to start with a new test. So we're just going to start flat out a brand new test. So right here's my choice to start a new test. And I'm going to get a blank screen. And we're going to assign a test number. I'm just going to press the enter key and let it assign. And by the way, this is test number 4. So I have, unfortunately, very limited data in here, but I think all the concepts that I'm going to cover today, you'll get with a very limited data set. So that's not really too critical. Okay, so the item that I want to test is 80010. This is the part number. Okay, so I'm going to test it. You can see a picture of it over here on the right side. And it is a brand new test. So I'm starting the test. It's kind of hard to see what that is. Can you tell what that is? That is, it's some memory chips. So that's a strip of memory chips is what this is, which needs to be tested in. And I know you don't sell memory chips. Doesn't really matter what the product is, but you will need to test something. And I do recommend having a picture available for the tester to be sure that they are, in fact, testing the right inventory item. You will probably also be testing typically a serial number or lot number. So you would do a lookup here to your list of lot numbers for this item, and I've got one in my sample here. So I'm just going to pull in that lot number, and we're going to test two of the lots. Okay, now what do we test? So this is the header part, right, of this new test. So I've kind of got it set up as far as the part number that I'm going to test, and I've got the serial number or lot number depending on which you use. And I've got but I need to put in the lines, and the lines are things that we're going to test, and this is where we're going to enter the actual measurements. So what I do is I say get specifications. So this is going to go to my specification list, and let's see, say yes to get all specifications, click no to get just the mandatory lines only. So you can you could have a huge list of things that you test, and only some items are mandatory to be tested. You don't have to test everything every time, is the way that's designed. But I'm going to say yes and get everything. So what it does is it pulls in from the master, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. These are the line items of what we test. Now, think in terms of your own testing process. Okay, what do you test? Okay, for your item. By the way, this is a raw material item that I'm testing here, but you could be testing a finished good. It could be a big item, a little item. It could be a finished good. It could be an incoming, any item that you want to test. As long as, and this is, I don't know, I'll mention this. The lot number, serial number field here, this is optional, but I got to tell you that most of our installations use some kind of serial or lot number to help identify the specific item that you're testing. If you don't put a lot number here, then I don't know how you would go back in the history files, because we're going to have a big history on this test, how you would identify which specifically you tested, and it is going to show up in the item tracing that shows that this lot was tested. So I do encourage you to utilize the lot number and serial number, although it is optional. Okay, so now the next concept is, what do we test? So the line items down here that I've got appearance, I've got density, I've got height, I've got speed, and I've got the temperature. For this part number, these are the things that I have predefined, and that's very important here. I have predefined these items as the things that I want to test, and they can be tested in different ways. It could be that temperature, this like a condition, has to be greater than 32 degrees when you do the test, or it might be some kind of method like a visual inspection, or it might be a density test on some machine. This could be a machine setting as far as where you test the inventory items. And then these two columns here, the actual measurements and the list of results, a result list rather, is where you put in the test results. Now, as I'm looking at this screen, I thought of one other thing. I don't know if I've got this. Looking at my notes, I didn't think about talking about this, but there's two ways that you can kind of come in and start entering these test results, because this is about testing. Remember, this is testing. So I'm going to show you the kind of the old-fashioned way of doing this. A lot of people still do it this way, and that's to print a testing worksheet. So what this will allow you to do, let me just preview this on screen. So I'm going to print this report up here, and I'll make this a little bigger for you to see it. Yeah, come on, bigger, bigger. Here we go. Okay, so here is the part number. Here's the description of the item. There's that serial number or the lot number that we saw. It's test number 4. And typically this sheet of paper would be put on a clipboard, and then you go out into the laboratory, or maybe you go out into the factory or wherever you're doing your test, and you're going to record on this paper, okay, the actual test measures and whether it's in conformance or not. Because the density is supposed to be between 12 and 18, the normal value is 15, and if you're going to write in a 28 here, then obviously that's a non-conformance line. And that's what we're really looking for. We're looking to be sure that all the test results that we do are in conformance with our expectations. We're comparing, right? Think of it. That's what testing's all about, is we're comparing our expectations to what the actual test results revealed. So you could put this on a clipboard and then come back later after you've finished out your work. You could come back later and then fill in the answers, okay, from that clipboard. Or if you have easy access, or you put this into a browser window, so this could be run, I'm using the Windows client, but this could just as easily be used on a web client. And so you could have this in a browser and have access to do your test that way, like on a tablet. Okay, so let's just do the first one, appearance. So appearance is a visual inspection, and the result list is shown here. So it's a list result type. So I use the list column. And then I click, and these are the preset results that I'm expecting for this item. And every item can have its own items. So good, fair, or poor. So good or fair are both acceptable, but then poor is a non-conformance. So of course I'll just pick good. Okay, kind of get that one started. Notice the line is now automatically checked to indicate that the test line is complete. And if I scroll to the right, so there's no problem with conformance. There is the, wanted to see, yeah. So here's the date tested, which is my sample date. Time tested, frequency code, and I wanted to be sure the tested by. Yeah, here's the tested by. So it automatically flags who did this work, because potentially, depends on the size of your shop, you may have different people testing different lines. So one person's qualified to do a density test, somebody else is qualified to do a speed test. Somebody else is going to do a temperature test. So it could be one person or it could be multiple. Notice too that the test status has changed from new to in process. Yeah. So as I'm going down through the lines and putting in my test results, I'm going to go to the next line now, the density test. And you notice right here is the expected results. These come from our specifications. The normal value is 15, so let's say it came in at 16. I did that test and I just entered the value here. Now that could have come from the worksheet. If I printed the worksheet and put the answer on that, then I could just come right down here and go boom, 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 down through the line items recording those test results. Or I just bring up this testing screen and use this kind of as an online testing worksheet, I guess I'd call it. And then I would just record the results here. So as I go down the list, you'll see the lines are getting checked. The progress is in progress, and it shows you what the upper and lower limits and the nominal value. It's all just right here in front of you. Now, I'm showing you all this because, and it's taken me about 10 minutes to kind of explain this, but I wanted to be sure that you understand what quality control or adding quality control to your NAV software is all about. First of all, it looks like NAV, feels like NAV, and quite frankly, it is NAV. It's built all within NAV. The tables, the lines, the condition, all this information, all the coding behind here is all built in standard NAV tables and pages and reports. And so it's just built right into your software. It's not what I would consider an external application. This is all internal to your NAV software. Glad to have so many people here today. We've got 17 in attendance, so excellent. Thank you all for taking a little time with me here today, learning about quality control. Okay. So I'm going to do something out of order here a little bit. I thought about this. I want to do a quick check to see if you're following what I'm showing here. So I'm going to put up a quick poll, which I was going to do at the end of all these attributes. But share with me your thoughts so far. Of what you've seen so far, is this easy and you thought it would be harder, or it's too hard and you got lost based on what I showed you? Or is it, how do you get screens like this? Or you can, if you want to drop off the call, that's okay. If you feel quality control, in other words, you signed up, you're here, you're looking at it and you go, this isn't what I was expecting, which would be amazing, but it's okay to drop off the call as well. So we need everybody to vote. So just click one of those little circles up there. Just takes a second. It's nice to do. Okay, got 70 to 82% voting. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll and I'll share it back with you. And we've got a pretty good results here. 86% of you are saying it's easy and you thought it would be harder, so that's a good sign. I'm doing okay here. Nobody is saying that it's too hard and you got lost, so that's good. 7% say, how do I get screens that look like yours? Absolutely is why you're here today, because I'm going to show you exactly how to get screens like these so that you can do your quality control testing. And all you have to do to get screens like this, guys, it's so simple. You pick up the phone, you call me. Say, Rick, I want screens just like yours. How do we get that done? And I'll help you through that process. And we've got somebody out there saying it's not for you and you're going to drop off the call. I fully understand if this is not appropriate for you or your business, then absolutely it's appropriate to drop off the call. Okay, so let's go on. So I'm going to bring that study guide back up on the screens. That was number one attribute, which is, as you saw, very much real time. So I encourage you to use it in real time and enter those values as you go, rather than doing the clipboard method. Although clipboards, a lot of people still use clipboards. I mean, I have a I have a clipboard on my desk for stuff, and so it's not unusual to use a clipboard and write stuff down. That's part for the course. Okay, let's go to attribute number 2. Is set specifications. You have to set your specifications. Each item has to be tested. Okay, that has to be tested, must have its own set of testing instructions. Okay, kind of makes sense, right? If you're going to test something, you need to tell somebody how to test it. So we call those item specifications. They can't even be specific to a customer. You could even get down to say, well, for this item and for this customer, these are the way it's to be tested. But for the same item, a different customer, you have different test requirements. Okay, it's all about version control as well on the specifications. So let's go take a quick peek at this concept. So let me move this out of the way. We'll come back to this test in a little bit. I'm going to leave it in process because often you'll do that. You'll start a test and then you'll get kind of through it and then you'll come back and need to do a little bit more testing as you go. Very common kind of thing. And you'll notice here, let me just refresh this. Yeah. So you'll notice in process, I've got 2 tests currently in process on my sample. Okay, specifications. This is what we test. So we've got it right here on the menu, which is quality specifications. Every time I've been out to a company that has specifications, and I've only got a couple in here, but let me just bring it up on screen so you can see one of these. Every time I've been out to see a laboratory or a testing environment, there's always a big file cabinet with drawers and drawers of either 3x5 cards or something where they have a master file that anytime we test part number 810, anytime we test this item, these are the things that we test for, and that gets then certified. Now, let me just put this under development for just a moment, and I want to show you what else could happen here. So this, if you had a new one, okay, a new item, you would just say new and you would put in the part number. Or if it's for a customer and an item, you could put in the customer code and the item. That's how simple it is. And then down here for the quality measures, this is where you actually select from a predefined list of all the different things that you test for. You don't have to test for all these on every item, but these are the things that you might test for. Tone or weight or width or height. I have customers test for the pH factor, cloudiness. It just varies all over the place as far as strength. Was it a visual? It could be a visual kind of test. It could be a physical measurement kind of test. All these different ways to test. And so to add it, let's just add a new one here to this. This is that part. So let's see, we've got, what do we have so far? We've got appearance, density, height, speed, temperature. Let's add one more. Let's add hardness. Okay, so I'm going to add hardness to it, and testing measure. Let's put in a method here. Let's say I use this method, which could be a machine that I tested on or something. And I also would like to establish the values. So my hardness values go from 56 up to 82. Okay, and the normal value is 71. So you build that in ahead of time. You see, you set this up ahead of time. Oh, and there's that mandatory. Remember we talked about mandatory? That's checked. All right. And so, okay. And then we just put it back under certification so it can be used. So now this is the definition. So if I did another test, now it's not going to go back and change the test that I just did on this part number, okay, on this memory chip. It's only going to be changing the future tests because we just added this new one for hardness. Okay. So that's all about the specifications. Okay, so each item that has to be tested has its own set of testing instructions. Okay, and I can't minimize this. There is no way around this setup issue. So to be able to use quality control, face the facts, you're going to have to add this in. There's no other way around it. So when you are installing and setting this up, you set one of the first things you set up is the test parameters, okay, what we call specifications. And my guess is that you would probably use that similar term. Okay, specifications. Let's go on. Another attribute that's critical, lot number or serial number. You test a lot number or you test a serial number. Okay, item tracking, therefore, because of that, has to be turned on the item card. So on the item card, there is an option to have item tracking. Have you ever seen that? You ought to, everybody on the call should know this, but let me just park this for just a second. Let's go just take a peek. I'll go into my item list here. Okay, and I'll not do the items, so I'm going to do the tracked items. All right, so let's just pick an item here at random, and I'll just show you what we're talking about. So on the item card, so here is the, oh, that's the item I was just on. Okay, good. So on this item card, it's got the cost, it's got the price, it's got the quantity on hand, it's got, you know, certainly the, I always encourage you to use the pictures too. It's nice to have a picture of the item. That's where that's coming from on the QC test. But I want to show you down here, down here, down here, down, 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 down. Where is it? Right here. Okay, so there's a section called item tracking. This is where you set up your codes. So you simply set up whether it's free form or whether it's lot. Just there's different options here, and you can go into advanced and take a peek. Let me just edit this one, and you can see it. So this is free form, so it means it could be serialized or it could be lot. Either one is available, and then you can even give it more specifications here. I've had some people where they actually have some items that have expiration dates and strict expiring information. So all of that is available here on the setup. This is in your inventory master where you set up the items. I'll show you one other. If on the serial numbers, we just open this one up too. There was something missing. There we go. So here's on serial number. See, all these are checked. So you need to check it. If it's serial number for sales tracking, are you going to use that on outbound or inbound sales tracking? Check those off so that it forces the user at the time that they are recording the shipments or the receiving that it's using the lot number information. So I just point that out to you that it's lot number is really very important for your quality control testing. Okay, number 4, identify who the tester is. I think I showed you this. So must be able to clearly identify who performed the test and when. Now I did the whole testing, so it's just me. But if you're in a shared environment where you have different people logging in and doing the tests, then we stamp every time you do a test, we take the user ID and stamp that with that record, so we know exactly who and the time of day, date and time, as far as when the that test result was entered into the computer. Okay, and all of that is saved. In fact, all the tests, I don't know if I even have that mentioned, but all these tests are saved forever unless you go in and delete them. But we save that history of all of the tests forever and ever. Okay, C of A. Does everybody know what a C of A is? Certificate of Analysis. Okay, you typically print that at the completion of the test, or you may need to print it at the time of your shipment so that it goes in the package to your customer. Okay, a couple different options there. Let me show you what the C of A looks like. So let's just move this out of the way a minute. We'll go back to, let me pull up one of these certified tests. Okay, so here's a test. This was for a cable. So here's a picture of the cable. This only had 3 lines of testing: appearance, density, and length. They all checked out, so they were all good. Everything was in conformance. In fact, it got certified. If it was in non-conformance, this would pop up that there was a problem. In fact, even when you're recording your test results, I probably should have done that, you get a warning that flashes on the screen that says your entry is out of range. What do you want to do? Okay, so C of A. So that's a report. Okay, it's right next to the testing worksheet. And so I can print then this document. Let me get this on screen so you guys can see it. It's a little small. Let me get this bigger for you here. Zoom in. 150 is pretty good. There we go. So here's the C of A. And it shows the part number that's being tested, a description of the item. It's certified. It's got the date that was tested. It's got then the appearance, density, and length. That was what was tested on test number 2. And it shows the expected limits, the normal, and then the testing values. So this is the actual test results that came from your clipboard or from the time that somebody entered it right there on the screen, maybe on your tablet. And then typically it's printed out and the quality supervisor signs these things as proof that you have done this test, and signs and dates the document to be given to your customer or to be used in-house. To validate that the testing has in fact been done and that it all came out in good shape and it was within the parameters, okay, those specifications that you defined at the beginning. So that's and this can be changed around. I mean, this is, let me zoom out again here. Go back to 100%. So this is, I'm printing in landscape, but you could print this in portrait, or you could change it around. You could add other columns. I just noticed on here I don't really show the tester's code. So I'm showing the date and time that it was tested or inspected, but I don't show the name. So if you want that added, you can add that in, or if it's mandatory, those can be added in as well. So very adaptable, just uses the standard NAV reporting tool to create the reports. Okay, so here is this is again a completed test. Oh, and I should mention this. I don't have this on my handout, I don't think, but I'm going to tell it to you right now. Notice the test status. Remember the test I started was new, and then it changed to in process as soon as I started putting in testing measures? We've actually expanded the different statuses from new to ready for testing. So if you have a laboratory where a QC manager delegates the testing, they could then assign it to a specific tester and then shows that it's in process, or if the tester completes it, it's ready for review. Then it gets certified or certified with waiver, certified final, could be rejected, or you could close out the test and delete it if you no longer need that information. Okay, so a lot of different statuses, and that in fact is what you're seeing back on the Roll Center. Here is all these different statuses. Okay, certified, certified with waiver, certified final, ready for review, in process testing. That's what you're seeing with the tiles. That's how we kind of decided to do our tiles. And you can change these around to whatever you need. Okay, so that's the C of A. Pretty important document. The pick document. Who controls what is picked? I think I'll take just a minute. I've got enough time. I think I'm going to show you this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to have time for this, but who controls what is picked? Typically, it's a reserved reserved in the service department that they specify the lot number that meets the customer specs, especially for you guys that have a situation where your testing is very customer specific. And so when you do a test and complete a test, it might be for a customer. So if the sales order is for a customer, then you would only want to pick items that pass that customer's test, right? Or pass their specifications. So it's all in the picking. Let's see if I can do this. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but let's see here. So I'm going to go to, let's open up a sales order. And I always like to put lots of my things that I get to on a regular basis in here. We'll just pick the Canon group, and I'm just going to add, is this open? hold on just a second. Let me see if this is an open. Yeah, this is an open sales order. So I'm going to add in another line item. And I'm going to put in this 8010 item. Just see if I can show you how this works. And we'll just put one in. Okay, so let's now, so we don't have any on hand. That's okay. So I'm going to go to the line. I'm going to go into the functions and order tracking. Yeah, pretty sure there's no. It's not what I want. Sorry, hold on. Related information, yeah. There, I'm sorry. Or the item tracking lines. So it's the item tracking lines. It's here where you specify the lot number that you want to test or have in there. And for some reason it's not showing me the lot number, but that's okay. You get the idea. So we're specifying, and you can see here, is it QC compliant? Has it the customer testing been done? So these are all some new fields related to quality control, whether a test exists or not for this item. Okay, so that's a little bit on the lot number information. You know, I was just a little bit surprised here. Huh. Okay, so that's where that goes. If you're not familiar with that part, give me a call later and I'll go over that with you. Okay, let's go back to our outline, and I want to mention just one last thing, and that is down here on reporting. So what kind of reports need to be generated? Okay, that's important. So the first and most obvious reports, couple that I've shown you already, and you can write this in. I didn't write this on your handout, but the first thing is the certificate of analysis. To me, that's an incredibly important report. You've got to be able to deliver to your customer that C of A that certifies that you have tested the product and it meets the specifications. So that's number one. The second thing that I think is an important report, let me move this out of the way, go back to this in process, or just pull up one of these in process tests, and is the testing worksheet. That you've got to be able to, you don't have to, but it's nice to be able to print out, put it on a clipboard, and go around and do your test, and then record the test results. Not required, but that's a good one. Also, the test results by item. I like this one as well. This lets you see per inventory item every time it's been tested. So you get kind of a history of all the testing that you've done, and you can see certainly the date of the test, any comments that can be written in, as well as then the actual measurements. So here it tested, the density tested at 14, down here it tested at 16. Still within tolerance, or was that? Yeah, still within the 12 to 18 tolerance. So yeah, so we're good on that. But and it would check me off here. If it was non-conforming, it would have put a check mark here to indicate that line item was non-conforming. So every time you're doing an item, you can get this nice kind of history. If I'm testing this cable, these are all the tests that I've done for that particular cable. So I can see it by each part number that we have been doing testing on. Just reading those test results. Another one, I don't see it on this test. Oh, here it is, test results by lot number. So a lot of you need to be able to do things by lot number. So for, there's some blank lots, but here's a lot number, shows the test result that way. So you can look up your information by lot number as well. So we do provide some nice reporting for you in the base product. So that's all included. So when you purchase your quality control, I mean, everything that you're seeing here as I'm going through this all comes with the software. So do understand, and that's what I said, no code, because you don't need to write code. We've done that. Okay, we've done all the coding and provide the solution in as much of a ready to go and usable condition. I mean, you just install it and use it. That's the whole secret to what we're providing here. Okay, so I've done the degree of difficulty. Let me just kind of review a couple things here about workflow. What do you do daily when you're using this software? People always say, well, how do I use the software? Well, I've given it to you, but it's all a little bit vague. So if you're doing a receiving of inventory, the first thing that you've got to do is receive in the items that are to be tested. And when I'm talking about receiving into inventory, that could either be a purchase order line that you receive in, or it could be a production order that is actually posted finished goods into inventory. Either way, we're getting it into inventory. You might use a location code, and sometimes I have clients that create a location code called QC or quarantine. I see quarantine location used quite a bit. That concept is that we don't want to put it into the main availability warehouse until we've done all of our testing. Then you do a transfer and move it into the testing location. Second thing you do is you set up a test specification. If it doesn't exist, normally this is done up front, but if you're testing some new item, you would need to set up the new specs of how you want to test it before you start that test. Then you perform the test. Pretty simple, right? We did that. And then you record the test results. It's either certified or it's rejected. You print your certificate of analysis. We did that one already. And from a test page, or you can actually, I didn't show this, but you can print it from your shipment document. So if you want to wait until you're almost ready to ship the product to the customer, then you can print it from the posted shipment documents. Number 5 here is, I just mentioned this, that all the historical data is available for charting and reporting. So you are able to print additional reports, Excel, send it to Excel, do reporting. You can do reporting right within NAV. I don't know if you know this or not, but let me just show you this. I kind of think this is fun to show. So we store all these test results are stored, and all these quality test lines. So all the data is saved in, for all the tests. So there's test number 1 had 3 lines. This had 2, 3 lines. This one had 3 or 4 lines, actually 5 or 6 lines. So these are all the different tests. And if you want to display some of this graphically, okay, let's say for the different items that you're testing, you can say, show this as a chart. You ever done this? You can then say, show me the actual measurements and by, let's say, by the item number. So we could do it by the test number, or we could do it by the item number too. I think it's nice by item number. So here in my sample, it's 2 items, and instantly you start to get some charts, and then you could even filter this further based on some other parameters. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to display the data as a chart, but that's and that little functionality that I just showed you there on charting, I have a whole webinar I do on charts. It's coming up probably fairly soon, actually. So watch your emails for that. Okay, let's go back to the study guide. Okay, so again, why write custom code when you can just buy it? It's just so much simpler. Just buy this, install it. It installs very easily in almost any version of NAV. And so if you're concerned about that, just call me and we'll check on the version compatibility and so forth. So let's find out how we have done today as far as, do you want to add quality control to your software? So this is your chance to kind of let me know your impressions of what you have seen. Oh, I got to put this up on screen. Makes it easier to vote that way. There you go. So grab the little, your mouse and say, yes, I want this ASAP, or I want this in about 6 months from now, or I'm not quite ready, I want this in about 2 to 5 years from now. So in other words, no hurry at all. If it's not for you, that's okay. And if you're a reseller and maybe you have some prospects that would be interested in this kind of product. Check that last box down there. Okay, a couple more people need to vote, vote, quick. Let's get some good results here. 60%. We need 2 more people to vote. Who hasn't voted? Okay, so we got some shy ones. So we'll share this back with you. Oh, there we go. Okay, so 18% said yes, ASAP, so call me. I will do that. Yeah, 27%, that's still pretty high, in about 6 months. And so that's a good thing. And 18% not for about 2 to 5 years from now. I think there'll be other versions of NAV by that time. 9% no, not for you. That's okay, and that's why you were here, to evaluate this software, and I appreciate it. Even appreciate you telling me that it's not for you. 27%, pretty high. A bunch of resellers on the call. Glad to have you here so that you could potentially recommend this product to your prospective customers or existing clients. You may have some existing clients that would benefit from this software. Okay, I will put up a couple frequently asked questions here. People always want to know, what's the price of this software? This looks like this is going to be pretty expensive. We keep our software prices very, very reasonable, especially compared to custom code. Oh my goodness, you couldn't touch this for $1,650. $1,650. That's it. Plus maintenance, plus a little bit of install and training time. But it's very reasonable to put this software together. So we should not be breaking the bank for anybody. How do you order it? Always the next big question. You just call me. So if you have some interest in what you're seeing, call me, send me an email, click the button, put a comment in the question box and say, Rick, call me about this. I really want to get started with quality control. We definitely can do that. Okay, so I'm going to open this up for any questions. I am going to put my contact information up here. You can call or email me for a private presentation. A lot of people like to see this with some of their data. I'd be more than happy to show this with some of your specifications and your inventory items. Again, my name is Rick Baxter. I'm with Cost Control Software, coming to you live today. It's live. It is Wednesday, the 20th of June, and I'm located just north of Indianapolis. Always people want to know where I'm located. Okay, so I do have a question from Emily here. She says, what are the different result types possible? I saw a numerical and a list. That's it. So you have that numerical results, and you can create your own list of questions, like a visual inspection, good, bad, whatever. So it's only those 2 results. That's the way it ships out of the box. Shalene says, if output item for both QC performed got rejected, will system allow to sell that item? That's up to you. In other words, if an item got rejected because it did not pass, we do not have a block on that. We don't block the item. It would be easy to add a choice on the QC screen. You know what I'm talking about? Back here when you're doing one of these tests. Let me just bring up this Ethernet cable test. So if an item did not pass, and so it's non-conforming, the question is, if this is non-conforming, will that block the selling of that inventory item? It does not do that, but it wouldn't take much code that if this gets checked, then the blocked item gets checked as well within inventory. We did not take it that far. We did talk about doing that, but we felt that that would be more of a customer-specific change. Question, okay, is it possible to tie a QC test to any routings? Great question. It is the way it's designed out of the box. We are testing completed finished goods, and we are testing incoming raw materials. We did not design the software to do a test of a routing step. I didn't know quite how to do that. I would be more than happy to see how maybe you're doing that now. And if it's something that we can add to the software, I would be more than welcome to talk to you about being able to add a router step or a production order or something. But because at that time you don't have a serial number, you don't have a lot number, you don't have a serial number, you're just in the middle of making an item. So we couldn't quite figure out what the specifications would be at that particular time. You know, what are you testing at the time that it's in a kind of unfinished state. So any suggestions on that, I would love to see it in an email or give me a call. Emily says, can you automatically generate a QC test upon output? You probably could. We haven't created that. In other words, she's saying that at the time that you post a production order, that you've made the product either from a job or from a production order and put the item into inventory, could that also trigger the setup of a test? We did not take the software and do that. I don't think it would be much to code that in if that was a requirement. So just let me know if that's something that you need. Okay, Prang says, I'll talk to you later about it. Yeah, I would love to hear about the routing and any suggestions. It's just that the item is not in any kind of finished state, and we just didn't know what the testing parameters might be at that stage. So I'd love to hear your ideas on that. Okay, well, that's it for today, guys. I appreciate your coming and attending, and hopefully you kind of understand this concept of what quality control is. Easy to add to your software, easy to use. I'm no expert at this, but you see I can move around absolutely perfectly in the software. Hope you like it, and encourage you to add this to your Dynamics NAV software. I was using, by the way, I was using 2018. This is the most current release here. That's why I have such small data. But this is for the 2018, but it's available in 2017 and many of our past versions. In fact, we just installed one in 2009, actually about a month ago. So it can be used in many different versions of NAV. Okay, I'm going to close it out for today. Thanks so much for everybody for attending. Have a great week.